Hello, everybody. Again, this is Patrick here, Irked Particle, and I have another knife video. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I am posting another video within days of the last one. Craziness. Anyway, I wanted to do a video on the Hogue EX-A01 because I noticed when I bought this last week, I bought it on Knife Swap on Reddit. And I feel like this knife is not getting the love that it should be getting. And I think there's a couple reasons for that. I think part of it is its age. This knife, I don't know exactly when it came out, but I think it's about 10 years old. I mean, right now it's March of 2021. I remember seeing posts about this online from like 2011. So the knife's been around for quite a while. If you look for this knife new, it retails for like 190, I think, in this configuration. This is a partial serrated aluminum handle. It's like 185, 190. But if you look on the secondary market, you'll find that you can find B plus, even A minus A rated uh, samples of this that are like 75 to $115, and I've even seen a couple that were listed at $115 that had not sold. They had been just sitting there. Like people were browsing through and thought, "Oh gosh, that's way too much for me." 115 for this knife? No. Um, I ended up picking this up for $75. I'm not going to go through all the specs or anything, but it is 154 cm blade steel. That might be part of why it's turning people off. I think people are wanting to move away from 154 cm. I know like ProTech is moving away from 154 cm a little bit here on some of their stuff. Um, anyway, so I'm not going to go through all the crazy detailed specs, but I did want to throw a ruler up at least and just kind of show at least the length, the overall length. The overall length is right at about 8 inches. Blade length about 3 3/4, and the cutting edge is right at about a little under 3.5, maybe 3.4, something like that. So I'm not going to go through all the craziness of doing all the details. I believe the weight is around four, something a little over 4 ounces. I've got my scale here. I can bring it over. Here, let's do it. Let's go for it. Let's do the scale. What do we got? What's the scale say? 4.5 on the dot is what I have. So, anyway, yeah. So, again, this is going to be a really informal video. I'm not going to even edit this, so what you see is what you get. Here's the knife again. Listen to that. Listen to that thwack. What a great knife. That is, like, with authority. This thing is awesome. I cannot believe, from what I'm seeing, people seem to be wanting to turn their nose up at this knife. Anyway, so let me hit some size comparisons because that seems to be a thing people do. So let's give it a start here. There's a Spyderco Delica. There's the Ontario Rat Model 1. I'm going to close these as I go. All right. Here's the Benchmade Bug Out. You're seeing this at an angle, so it's not going to be like a true representation of the size. If I move them up, that might help a little bit. And then here, let me do the old swap-a-roo here so you can kind of see one up front as well. All right, so there's the Bug Out. Here is another ProTech. This is the Newport in the S35VN. So there's the Newport. And again, I'll swap these out because of the angle that the camera's at so you can see a little bit better. Oh no, here, I'll leave that one there. Take the Bug Out back. And then lastly, I'm going to bring up the Pair 3. So there's the Pair 3. And again, I'm going to swap one more time just because of the angle I've got these sitting at. So there's a couple size comparisons for you anyway. That seems to be a thing that people like to do. And anyway, moving on the Hogue EX-A01. Now, there is a manual version of this that I actually would have preferred to get, but I couldn't find any of the manual versions, at least not used for less than, I don't know. Well, first of all, I had a hard time finding them used, period. But even if I did, I think some of the sale prices I was finding, they were selling for like, pretty consistently for like 130-ish or so. I think a big factor in that is the popularity and how hot button locks are right now. Button locks are all the rage. Um, I've been bit by the bug too. I've had a few different Malibus. I've got a smock that I absolutely love. I've got the second detent removed, and I was so concerned that that was going to be too loose with the second detent removed, and I'm so glad I did it. That thing is perfect without the second detent. It doesn't open unnecessarily, but when you hit that button, it just drops right open. I love the smock. Anyways, but this knife, let's get a look at the back real quick. The pocket clip. Some people don't like this pocket clip. This big. It looks like you could take that off and start eating cereal with it. That's what it looks like. Doesn't bother me. I work at a grocery store, and in fact, I have a key that takes off security tops off liquor bottles. And when I have this in my pocket, I've got the pocket clip sticking out the other side, and it's a magnet that key is. And I stick the magnet to my pocket clip for easy access on the outside of my pants. And I've been doing that for a couple days. And I feel like it should be scraping it up. It scrapes up my other knives. Like, for example, here's my Delica. That's what those keys, those liquor keys have done. If you'd focus, those liquor keys, that's what it's done to my Delica. So not great. I mean, I feel like that worn look. I got this Delica for $38 on Walmart.com last year. Like, I cannot believe that. Spider Delica for $38. That's ridiculous. That was a good find. But anyway, it seems to be holding up. It's only been a couple days I've been doing it, but holding up all right. So anyway, this knife is awesome. And in my opinion, at least lately, it's underappreciated. I'm just going by what I'm seeing price-wise online. I'm going by kind of like the lack of any kind of discussion about it when one pops up. Another feature I will point out too is that this safety, it's got a safety switch right here. You hear that? You might have seen other people do this in other videos, but you hear that nice definitive click? That means when you're using the knife, I'm cutting stuff, whatever, that is not going to engage by accident. That has to be a very purposeful push to get that to engage. And you can lock it open, or I can close it up, and I can lock the knife closed, which is super cool. I think it's cool that it can do both. I had a Hogue EX-A01 micro flip, and with that particular one, it was lock open only. So it's kind of nice that this will do either one to prevent any kind of, prevent misfiring in your pocket, or when you're opening to prevent accidentally hitting that plunge and causing it to collapse when you're using it. So anyway, ergos on this, I think, are very, very good. I almost would prefer like a choil up front, but it's almost a non-issue for me because if I put my middle finger around that choil there, then my index finger falls pretty much perfectly across the front of the knife. So you can do choking up cuts. There's a little bit of kind of wide, broad jimping right here, but it's actually just about right. It's some jimping on some of these knives these days just feels like it's just too smooth. This is kind of right where a good spot is. My thumb doesn't slide too easily. So you can choke up on it and do some work, or you can come back here if you want. I know people care about reverse grip. I don't think I would ever use reverse grip for really much of anything. Watched a knife expert talking on YouTube, and he was saying that the only people who hold knives for like defense in a reverse grip are people who either don't know what they're doing, have no idea what they're doing, or really know what they're doing. That's what he said. He said, beginner people who don't know how to defend themselves in reverse grip are at a huge disadvantage, but people who are pros and who really know what they're doing are at a huge advantage in reverse grip. Just thought I'd mention that. But to be clear, I did not buy this knife for self-defense purposes at all. All of my knives are tools, first and foremost. The only reason I would ever use my knife as a defense tool is if my life were in imminent danger. Somebody would have to be trying to actively take my life. And even then, I would go for some other alternative rather than going for the knife first. Always try to flee first, obviously. Um, I don't think of any of my knives as being any kind of self-defense, weapons or anything. They are absolutely 100% intended to be tools. And I'm not just saying that for legal reasons or whatever. I'm saying that because I really do believe that. That's how I feel. Autos, all that stuff. Out the front, out the side, whatever it is. Anyway, so I did intend for this to be a relatively short video. We're just past the 10-minute mark. I am finding that it really is easy for me to talk a lot. My friends and family have all told me that. I find this is actually kind of a good little outlet because I talk to myself out loud sometimes. I actually will like walk around and literally with nobody else around, I will speak out loud and say, I got such a good deal on this and that. This knife is great because this is really impressive because of that and that and that. And I often will, again, out loud, ask myself, who are you talking to? Who are you speaking to? But I'm one of those people who, and maybe anybody else is watching this, maybe you're like this too. If I articulate what I'm thinking out loud, orally to myself, it helps me to organize my thoughts. If I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking about, A, B, C, D, E, I find that they can get jumbled together and you find yourself almost thinking multiple things at the same time. Just, your mind starts to race and it's a little more difficult to kind of organize, your thoughts or feelings about something. So I have always felt, as long as I can remember, that actually speaking out loud how I feel about something, what I'm thinking about something, even if I'm not recording it, has always really helped me to kind of organize and especially remember things. So I'm a visual learner, but I'm also really, really an auditory learner as well. So anybody else that's watching this, if you feel that way or a different way, I'd be really interested to see what you have to say about that. Leave a comment. I would love to see how people feel about, speaking to yourself. I find I'll even do it in public sometimes. I'll have people walk up, be like, who are you talking to? And I'm like, oh my God. So I just have to just come clean and be like, dude, I'm talking to myself. I'm sorry. I swear I'm not a crazy person. At least I hope not. I don't know. Anyway, so, so the title of the video is, Hogue EX-A01, underappreciated. And I don't know. Maybe it's not, maybe I'm just getting a sample size that just kind of, it just is my perception that it's a little underappreciated. Look at the kick on that. Watch this. I'm going to hold it relatively lightly. Gosh, it's got a heck of a kick. I don't know how well it comes up on camera, but man, this thing is a beast. Look at the serrations. The serrations are awesome, man. Whoever had owned this previously, it doesn't look like they cut a dang thing with this. And then look at the edge. This is probably a factory edge. It's so difficult to see in my light. When I take photos, it's difficult for me to get these edges too. I have stropped this edge on my Wicked Edge with leather with diamond paste down to a 0.5 micron. And it honestly didn't even really need it. Hogue does such a great job. They're one of the best companies that I have found for factory edges. They really seem to care about how well their edges are done. I haven't owned a ton of different knives from a ton of different companies. I've had some high-end production knives, but I think, the nicest knife I have is I just got an Anthem the other day. So I haven't spent any more than $380 on a knife. But for the ones that I have tried, from budget all the way up to, pretty decently high production cost knives, of the brands that I've seen, the best factory edges, in my opinion, come from, in no particular order, Spyderco, Hogue, Civivi, or, I would say and Civivi. Screaming edges on Civivis right out of the box. Oh my gosh, man. Well, Benchmades are sharp, but they're more toothy from factory. That's been my experience. But as far as like just a true, just slice everything in sight, right off the bat, no questions asked, I would have to say, I'm going to say, yeah, Spyderco, Hogue, and Civivi. Those are the big ones. I've got new knives from those companies that I have not touched with a sharpener, whereas I've had brand new knives, like for example my Benchmade 940s. I sharpened both of those, even with a factory edge, like a perfectly unused A+ condition factory edge, and I sharpened it anyway because it just wasn't kind of to my standard. Um, I find one of the worst offenders as far as a factory edge is Microtech. They just put such a wide angle on their knives. Like I'm, the Ultratechs that I've had have all been at like 25 degrees, which is, it's serviceable, it's acceptable. It's just not my preference. And I have had a couple that were just flat out dull. I had a Dirac that I had, and man, that thing was just dull. I mean, I took it right out of the box, tried to slice a piece of phone book paper, and just wouldn't even cut phone book paper at all. And it just wasn't even, you can't expect every edge to cut phone book paper perfectly, because not every edge is intended for that type of cutting. But even for, an edge that's not great at phone book paper, it didn't do a good job at all. So anyway, I know Hogue does such a great job. They really do a good job with their edges. So, all right, well, I think I'm going to wrap this up. If you are interested in leaving a comment about if you have an experience with the Hogue EX-A01, or even just the Hogue EX-A01, the manual one, or the EX-A03, or any of the kind of EX series, but particularly the autos, I would be really interested to know what anybody has to say about experiences with how they feel about it, how they've had maybe a conversation with somebody else and how they felt about it. Do you think it's kind of like a knife that's kind of past its prime? It's too old, it's not exciting anymore, 154 cm doesn't do it for you? Or, do you think it's underappreciated? Do you think it's undervalued on the secondary market? Do you think it's too expensive new now, or should it be discontinued? I don't know. I actually really like it, especially for the $75 I paid. I could have paid a decent amount more for this than 75 and been pretty happy with it. I would like to mention too, this is my first knife with 154 cm. This will be my first knife, so I'll have to see how I like that steel. I've heard nothing but great things about it. I know Metal Complex, he says 154 cm is his favorite user steel, and I've heard some other people say that, similar things too. So anyway, if you've got an opinion, let me know. I would love to know how you feel about this knife. All right, well, that's about it for me today. I believe I made it through the video without needing to edit. That's my goal moving forward. I want to do my videos and not have to edit. I don't want to have to pay for editing software. I don't want to have to take the time. I did that with all my vape videos. I did all this editing. I mean, I'm down for making a thumbnail, but I don't want to have to edit, at least not until I decide whether I'm going to continue doing this regularly. Then I might start doing some editing. So, all right, well, hey, thanks for listening to my incessant rambling. I'm really, really good at that. Hope I didn't bore you absolutely to death, and hopefully I'll see you around in the next video, and hopefully there should be one soon. I plan on making some more videos. So, all right, yeah, I appreciate it. You know how they say, like, comment, surprise, like, comment, surprise, smirch the lark button. All right, guys, I'll see you later. Have a good one. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.